But one of them that I think was really, really good that stuck out to me, like even at the time, was the story of the game. And I think that like Zelda wasn't quite known for its story back then. You could argue it's still not known for its story today. But like, you know, Ocarina of Time had been really good. Majora's Mask had been really good. But the other ones were kind of like, you know, the story was secondary to everything else that was going on in those games. And I think you could say the same thing about Wind Waker, but I just like, I remember like, and I guess it's hard to talk about the story without talking about the graphics in the same hand, because they're really, you know, two sides of the same coin. But like the characters just felt like so alive and so like I don't know, like they just popped to me. Like they felt like real characters. And maybe it is because they looked all like so insane and like Snot Boy and like the
Yeah.
crazy cast of characters and like the way that they looked like these little bobblehead guys. Like it was just like, it was super charming, and it was like watching a cartoon in motion, and like it really was like watching like a great cartoon where you're just like, oh man, like that guy cracks me up or whatever. Like that was kind of my impression of Wind Waker. And I think one of the most one of the coolest things that it does is it kind of goes from like, it has this very classic style cartoon villain, I think, at the beginning with like this big bird. Like that's a kind of like, a big bird would be like a villain in like Looney Tunes or something like that, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
and I think that the way that they like kind of slowly pivot as the game goes from like this big bird and actually, you know what? Who's controlling this big bird? It's actually like this pretty sinister dude that you fought before named Ganondorf. And his Ganondorf's design was so awesome. God, he looks awesome. We'll talk about that in a sec. But
Yeah.
like the way that it kind of like slowly twists the story, and like it starts off charming and funny and whimsical at the beginning, and it gets darker and darker and darker, and the game kind of reflects that a little bit when you get to Hyrule Castle, when you get to the final confrontation with Ganondorf, when you get to like some of the like the Earth Temple. I really like the way that Wind Waker is able to still have everything that pops, characters and visuals and worlds like that, but like I don't know, it's almost like it can switch tones on a whim, and it's like, man, like you know, you look at this game and you're like, I don't think this game should be able to produce like these heavy emotional moments because of its art style, but it really does.
Yeah, it makes me think of like cartoon shows that, you know, it's clearly made for kids, same with Wind Waker, but then there's like really deep undertones in story that you're just like, oh my god, this is supposed to be for kids, like this hits me
Yeah.
deep as an adult. And so I think Wind Waker does that really well, and it's like a gradual thing too, because initially you kind of like, it's kind of like a standard adventure. Your sister's kidnapped, you got to go save her and all that kind of stuff, but then you like start to learn more about Ganondorf and like Hyrule being flooded and like the history and why was it flooded, like the gods just said F it and flooded everything and all that kind of stuff. You learn more about that, and the king's sacrifice too at the end, and it's just like, dang, this is like, if I like, obviously when I played this as a kid it went right over my head, but as an adult you're just like, whoa, this is actually kind of like intense, you know?
Yeah.
So, and I think Wind Waker did that really well. And like in a way that like really flowed. I think that's something we've been missing from Zelda lately, is we've had very choppy story elements. And so it like we're missing a natural flow to story that Wind Waker did well, that Skyward Sword did well, and I'd really like to see that come back.
I agree. I agree 100%. Yeah, and like I think you nailed it actually. Like when I was playing it as a kid, like everything that I just described, like that slow turn, I don't think I really picked up on it. Like, but I think like maybe subliminally I did, but like not. It wasn't until like later playthroughs that I was just like, this story is like really great, and there's a lot of like amazing moments I think scattered throughout the story that like I think like. Man, when they shoot Link out of that cannon, that's one of the best. That's probably the funniest
Yeah.
scene in the entire series. It's
Pretty
so
funny, yeah.
it's so
Still
charming.
cracks me up as an adult too.
It's so good the way he just like plonks against the wall, and like the transition from like Tetra looking at him to Link being in that cannonball. He's like, ah, like it's so good. By the way, that was I could be wrong. I think I am wrong actually. I was about to say that Forsaken Fortress was the first time that you really did stealth in the series, which isn't true, but I think it is true. You've never done stealth like that in the series.
I I don't think so. Like you probably snuck around a little bit beforehand, but not like that.
Not like that. Yeah, yeah. I mean, you had like Gerudo training grounds, you had the
Yeah.
pirate fortress, but like not like that. It was very cool and very
You
different.
could be in barrels, you could like crawl
Yeah,
around and stuff, and there was like searchlights.
it was
Yeah, it was a
very
little
Metal Gear
different.
Solid. It was very
Yeah.
cool. So I love that moment. I think like obviously the moment where you know the boat, the King of Red Lions, turns into who he turns into is pretty.
Yeah.
It's pretty intense. It's got some of those great scenes like saying goodbye to Grandma and like the final confrontation with Ganondorf and Zelda and Link is amazing. Like amazing.
So epic, especially when you consider the fact that literally like 2 seconds before Link and Zelda really
Hmm.
take up arms against him, he's like backhanding Link across the way, and it's like this is a really big dude that a little 10-year-old kid is trying to take on. And then like Link, he's like musters up his courage and he's able to actually go one-on-one with this guy. But like if you really think about it, it's just like it's like me looking at a 7-foot dude just be like, oh god, what do I do?
Yeah.
You know?
And the
So
way, and he crushes him too with that. So that's a great moment as well at the end when he's just like he comes down. I think the story was so great. I do have a little bit of a problem with one of the elements of the story that I did want to bring up. I do think it's kind of, and I didn't notice this as a kid, but you do as an adult. I do think it's kind of a little bit disappointing, the transformation of Tetra to Zelda. I think like, I don't know, it's kind of like a weird whitewashing of this character that you've grown really fond of that has all these like personality traits and she's like a completely different character when she turns into Zelda and I don't know, I guess you could argue that there's some similarities, but I think that like that one kind of sticks out to me as one that I haven't liked as much as I've got older. But on the flip side of that, like I feel like the rest of the story, it's just like there's a whimsy and there's a simplicity and there's a charm to it, and there's a charm to this game in general that I think just like permeates the whole thing. And again, like I said, it goes hand in hand with the visuals and the story because like it feels very alive, even though there's like really not that much in this game like in terms of like people and land, which we'll talk about in a second, but like what's there, like it feels like very alive.
I feel like I gotta defend Tetra Zelda a little bit. And I think I've done this on the show before. But like, imagine you've been living your whole life as like this pirate, you know, captain head of like this pirate crew. Your mother left you some clues to some like massive treasure, the Triforce. You probably don't know exactly what you're looking for. You just know your mother set you on that path. You're the boss and all that kind of stuff, and this like ratty kid is in your way, but also you're like, you could use him, it's fine. And then all of a sudden you're told that you're like this princess of a long lost kingdom that's been flooded. It's gonna take you a second to like really grasp what the heck just happened. I feel like she comes to at the end where she's just like she's like, okay, you know what, let's kick this guy's ass, like we got this. She does, she
Yeah,
comes
okay.
back a little bit. And you can kind of see her character a little bit in Phantom Hourglass too, because that's a continuation of her. And she totally takes back on the Tetra garb, and she's like, yeah, I might be a princess, but I'm still Tetra. So I feel like it kind of like she had this like really monumental psychological thing happen to her that she was just like, I need a minute to like process what happened here.
Yeah, you
So
know what?
I'll defend Tetra.
I like that you're defending that, and that's valid. I just like for me, I watch it like now, and I'm just kind of like, yeah, I don't know.
Again, like when you're a kid, you don't have like the emotional maturity to really
Yeah,
grasp all that. So you're just like, oh, well, they just nerfed Tetra, like meh, you know?
when you're a kid, you're just like, damn, like that's Zelda, and it like it really was close to like Sheik becoming Zelda too, like almost like the same kind of idea. But I would say Sheik was more like a
Sheik
clear
was more shocking.
disguise.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that being said, I really love the story. I think you could make, I mean, it's so subjective, but like you could make, I think, a really, really good argument that this has the best music of the series. If you made that argument, I'd have a lot of time to listen to that. Because like you go down the list, like that title theme, Dragon Roost, the Earth Temple, you know, the Great Sea is a good track. It's just you hear it a lot. You know, there's just
Great
so
hummability on that one.
there's a lot. Yeah, that's a good metric actually to measure by.
I would say
there's a
I would
lot.
always argue that Wind Waker and Skyward Sword are probably the best soundtracks of the series.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'd have a lot of time for I like, to be honest, there's like half a dozen games I'd have a lot of time to listen to that argument, but like Wind Waker would be near the top of the list because like, and you know what, the thing about the Wind Waker title theme is I always liked it, but I feel like it wasn't until we started doing musical March Madness at the website and just listening to that and then just like, you know, kind of humming along. And then I'm skipping ahead a little bit here, but it took me a long time, but eventually I did play Wind Waker HD. And I just feel like that was a moment because I would turn it on and then kind of get my stuff ready. And I was just like, I wasn't pressing start because I just wanted to listen to it. It's just,
right.
That theme just makes me smile. And it's just so... it's a classic, like but it's not like, it doesn't rely on the classic like Zelda themes or anything like that. Like it's like even Ballad of the Goddess, which we both love, like that's kind of an inversion of a classic Zelda song. Not that I think a lot of people would know that, but like, you know, this is just like a whole new thing, and it sounds so incredible.
Yeah, it's like, it's a sound and it's like a music genre that you hear it and it makes you happy. At least I feel from the majority of people. You just like feel instant happiness, maybe get a little bit like of the goosebumps, or you just feel light and elated and warm because it's like such a whimsical, charming little tune, and it's got some Celtic vibes, and I've always felt that way listening to Celtic music. So it's just like it just transports you and makes you feel happy. So yeah, I agree. I would always like sit on the title screen too because I just wanted to listen to it.
Yeah, it's so good, and I think when you look at it by the key metrics, it's got hummability, it's got happy ability, it's got warm ability, like it's got everything that you need. It's a great tune, and it's certainly not the only one from this game that kind of fits that criteria. Like like Dragon Roost, I think was like an immediately an iconic track. Like as soon as it debuted, it sounded so good. So yeah, like the music is another thing that they absolutely just nailed out of the park. And you know what I would say as well is I think that before Breath of the Wild came out, because I think Breath of the Wild surpassed Wind Waker in this, but like I think before Breath of the Wild, this game had arguably the biggest sense of exploration or like adventure perhaps in the series, because like to me it kind of felt like, you know, you can run around Hyrule Field and Ocarina of Time, and that's incredible. And it feels like you're exploring as well, but it feels like you're exploring like where you're supposed to, like you're in this field and it has its boundaries and stuff like that. Whereas in Wind Waker, to me, like I always had this feeling that like there's almost nothing like this feeling when you're on your boat. It's night or day or whatever, but it's still. Like everything's still around you. You can't really see anything. It's just ocean. And you're like, am I supposed to be here? Like, am I like about to sail off the edge of the game map or something like that? Or like, it's just the way that Wind Waker would constantly do that, where like you were just on the map and in your boat, and you kind of had like some agency over how you were traveling. And at the time, you know, it got tired, you know, admittedly after a while, but like at the time it was very cool to like feel like you're actually sailing by like having the wind kind of direct you and your sail and everything like that. And like, you know, it just was like, it's a feeling that very few other Zelda games have been able to do, where it's just like, you're just quietly exploring and there's either nothing or all this stuff on the horizon. And it's just, it's an incredible feeling. And I think that, you know, I think if you were to ask me now, I would probably say that I think Wind Waker has like too much water for its own good. Could have used a little bit more land.
Right.
But I don't think at the time I got to that destination, I was just like, this is so cool. And it felt massive at the time. Like this world just felt massive. And I don't know. It's just, there's nothing quite like it. Even Breath of the Wild, like it's not quite the same. Hey everyone! If you enjoyed this clip and want to see more of the Zelda Cast, make sure to head over to your favorite podcast platform of choice and subscribe. There are over 200 episodes in the vault that will provide you with hundreds of hours of Zelda content for you to enjoy. You can listen to us when you're on a walk, fighting Ganon, trying to sleep, whatever. And if you want to see these shows as they happen, make sure to head over to twitch.tv/the Zelda Cast, where you can watch our beautiful faces talk about Zelda every single week. Don't miss out, and we'll see you next time.